So there's this feeling that always comes back to me where I just want to disappear for a day and not talk to anyone, not respond to any messages, and just like avoid people completely. But at the same time, I'm secretly wishing in the back of my mind that someone would just check up on me so that I can drop a huge truth bomb on them and tell them everything that's wrong with my life. I've had pretty bad days, especially during my first few years of uni. And even if I had the motivation to go to the gym, I realized that whenever I went, I would try to avoid people that I knew. I wouldn't want to say hi to my friends or say hi to people who knew me by name. And it felt like I was always trying to withdraw myself socially. And similar stories in high school as well, where I'm giving my parents the silent treatment. I would stay in my room for the entire day and just not talk to my parents. Or I would shut off my phone for 12 hours so that messages wouldn't get delivered to me. And I would open my phone secretly wishing that someone would text me. So I would do these really weird things and start to shell up. Whenever I got really pissed about something or had a really bad day, it causes a tipping point where I'm just completely burnt out of everything. And in the grand scheme of things, I would say that I'm doing pretty good, and I don't want to make anyone concerned that I'm struggling mentally. And not to sound self-inflating or anything, but I do think that I am doing very well. I have a good career at a young age. I'm in good physical shape. I have a good relationship with my family, and I have people to talk to. Now, I could be completely alone here and just talking out of my ass, but there are just some days where I feel so frustrated and burnt out to the point where I want to completely avoid talking to people, which is very counterintuitive because humans are supposed to be very social. And if anything, going through struggles and having hard times would make you want to talk to people more, right? You would want more social interaction to make you feel better. But having social withdrawal and wanting attention is a sign that you have a lot of unresolved thoughts, a lot of internal conflicts and struggles, and maybe a sign that you're not doing something which you know you should be doing. And I say this not only because I'm admitting it in myself, but also because I think that if you're watching this, you're probably a very goal-oriented person and someone who defines their self-worth through their achievements, which I talk a lot about on this channel. I think that it is a very double-edged sword. So when I notice this behavior in myself, it's more or less school and career related. And this is where it kind of gets complicated because let's say you had a really shitty day where you bombed an interview and 5 of your friends ended up getting that same job. So you would obviously feel like shit. It's normal and acceptable to feel that way. But the point is, you can't just say, oh, just work harder and go find another job and that'll solve all your problems, because it's a lot more nuanced than that. Realistically speaking, it's not going to happen that fast. If you're in a situation where you're just completely burnt out and actively taking yourself out of social interactions, you probably don't even have the motivation or the systems to actually get anything done. So I think those are still relatively small struggles. You could be going through something like addiction, or maybe someone passed away in your family, and that could really cause you to spiral and just completely lose control. And how to effectively get out of that rut is still something that I can't quite fully solve. But on the same topic, I think not enough people talk about how important it is to have flow state. And flow state is a real concept in psychology where you're just completely and effortlessly focused at a high skill task. That feeling when you're just completely in the zone and time starts to bend. It could be playing an instrument, playing a sport, video games, and nowadays even vibe coding. And what I've noticed is that if I'm ever in a situation where I just can't stop thinking about everything that's wrong with my life, and I'm doing these bullshit activities like avoiding my friends and not talking to people, I can really quickly get back on track if I could just focus on one single high skill task. And if I could get really immersed in that one task for a couple of hours, I would feel this insane sense of confidence and clarity, just a huge surge of dopamine. For example, playing the piano or editing a YouTube video. Doing those focused activities is so relieving because they do a really good job at suppressing the negative thoughts that drove you into burnout in the first place. So I'm not only talking about social withdrawal, which might not even be a common thing. I'm really just talking about everything like bed rotting, having low energy, brain fog, and just zero motivation to do anything. All of those behaviors can be solved if you just took action and started. And I hate to sound cliche by saying that, but it is a really big part of the point I'm trying to make. And if you're just feeling so shitty about yourself and you don't have any activities you can fall back to have that flow state feeling, well, now is your sign to start looking. It is going to help you immensely to achieve things. So I work in tech and I'm a 4th year computer science student, and the smartest and most successful people around me also tend to be really good at a particular instrument or a creative hobby or a sport. And I think it's no coincidence that they're able to succeed succeed in their career and all areas of their life. I think it's so much deeper than just discipline and drive. Those hobbies mean that you're able to tap into flow state and allow yourself to be completely absorbed in something difficult, so that when you do spiral and when you do inevitably have really shitty days, you will be able to regulate yourself and get back on track really quickly. So going back to all those times where I just felt like a pussy, wanting to remove myself from social occasions, it was more or less always because of comparing myself to others and being really dissatisfied with my own achievements. But whenever I took the first step to make videos or lift really heavy weights or even play a really competitive video game, I would get that feeling again of losing track of time and using all my skills to complete a really hard task. And to be honest, it's completely changed the way that I live my life. At least in my 20s, I'm gonna be trying very hard to chase that flow state type of feeling. So if you want to bounce back, it's not really about isolating or giving yourself space. It's not even about fixing your entire life and solving all of your problems immediately. It's about finding something genuinely difficult and immersing yourself in it long enough to rebuild your sense of capability and what it feels like to work towards something you're passionate about. So if you ever feel like you want to disappear, you're burnt out, you can't get anything done, you're doing all this bullshit, there's probably something you know you should be doing. But more importantly, I think that you need to find that flow state again. You need a productive way to escape thinking about who's ahead of you and replaying your bad day. You need to just start executing, and that execution is going to build your confidence quietly.